Imagine this, a simple touch, a gentle caress, and in that moment you see his whole demeanor change. His eyes soften, his body relaxes, and for a fleeting second, you can almost feel his heart open. What if I told you that this small, intimate gesture could actually activate his love hormones? Today we're diving into the powerful yet often overlooked art of using physical touch to deepen emotional connections and awaken real love. When we talk about activating a man's love hormones, the most important chemical to understand is oxytocin. Often referred to as the love hormone or cuddle chemical, oxytocin plays a powerful role in bonding and emotional connection. It's the same hormone released when a mother holds her newborn baby, when people hug, or when lovers cuddle after intimacy. But many don't realize just how effective simple, non-sexual physical touch can be in building emotional closeness, especially for men. While society often portrays men as less emotionally attuned, the truth is men are deeply affected by oxytocin, though they may process it differently than women. Physical touch is one of the most direct biological ways to stimulate oxytocin release. When you touch someone in a caring and affectionate way, their brain interprets that touch as a signal of safety, connection, and love. In a romantic relationship, this is particularly important. A light touch on the arm during conversation, holding hands while walking, or resting your head on his shoulder. All of these seemingly small gestures can have a much bigger impact than we give them credit for. They aren't just signs of affection, they're biochemical triggers that encourage his body to release oxytocin. Over time, these moments compound to create a sense of emotional intimacy that feels irreplaceable. Now here's where it becomes especially meaningful for men. In many cultures, men are raised to be strong, stoic, and emotionally reserved. This doesn't mean they don't crave connection, it just means they may not always express it or seek it out in obvious ways. Physical touch becomes a powerful, even subconscious, way for them to receive emotional validation. It bypasses words and cuts straight to a feeling. When you reach out and physically touch a man in a way that's thoughtful and gentle, you're giving him something that communicates comfort, closeness, and care without needing him to say anything. One of the most overlooked aspects of oxytocin is how it builds trust. For a man to truly fall in love, not just feel desire, but actual emotional closeness, he needs to feel safe. He needs to feel like he can let his guard down. Touch is one of the fastest ways to create that emotional safety net. Think about it. When someone is tense or stressed and you offer a hug, their body literally relaxes under the pressure of your arms. That's oxytocin at work. In romantic scenarios, this same thing happens. A man might not even realize why he feels so good around you, but over time, your presence becomes associated with emotional calm and physical comfort. That bond becomes addictive in a healthy, loving way. Also, the context in which you touch matters. Touch during moments of shared laughter, during conversations that carry emotional weight, or while offering comfort in difficult times. All these are amplified emotionally. When you touch him with genuine warmth in these moments, his brain makes a deep connection between you and emotional relief. That's not just chemistry, that's biology turning into attachment. Some women worry that they might be too affectionate or clingy when they initiate touch, but when it's done with subtlety and sincerity, it rarely feels that way to a man who genuinely likes you. Instead, it becomes something he looks forward to. That light graze of your hand during a conversation, the way your knee brushes his under the table, or the simple act of sitting close to him on the couch. These aren't just actions, they're micro moments that help him feel emotionally anchored to you. This is why understanding the power of physical touch and how it triggers oxytocin isn't just science, it's relationship wisdom. A man might not be able to explain why he feels closer to you after a long embrace, or why your touch calms him, but his body knows, his brain responds. And slowly but surely, those small moments of contact build a bridge of emotional connection that no words could ever fully replace. Men are often seen as primarily visual creatures when it comes to attraction, and while this is partly true, it only scratches the surface. Visual cues might spark initial interest, but what creates a deep, lasting emotional connection is something much more intimate: physical touch. It's easy to assume that a man's attraction is purely physical or based on appearance, but when it comes to falling in love and forming meaningful bonds, touch plays a far more important role than most people realize. In fact, it's through physical closeness and gentle, intentional touch that many men begin to feel safe, valued, and emotionally connected. From a young age, many men are conditioned to withhold emotional expression. They're taught to be strong, stoic, and in control. That doesn't mean they don't feel deeply. It simply means they may not show or process their emotions the same way others do. As a result, verbal affirmations or emotional discussions may not always resonate as strongly with them as they do with women. This is where the power of physical touch comes in. Touch becomes a silent language, a way of communicating care, warmth, and connection without needing to use words. It becomes a bridge between emotion and experience. Think about what happens when you gently touch a man's hand while you're both laughing, or when you place your palm lightly on his chest during a meaningful conversation. In those moments, you're doing more than just making contact. You're creating a neurological and emotional imprint. That physical sensation tells his brain that he's safe with you. It tells him that he can relax, let go, and be himself. This physical contact often speaks louder to a man than verbal affirmations ever could, because it touches something primal, something deeply rooted in his nervous system and emotional wiring. Men are not just physical beings who crave pleasure, they are emotional beings who often access their emotions through physical experiences. For many men, being touched in a tender, consistent, and affectionate way is what helps them open their hearts. They may not say, "I need affection" out loud, but their bodies recognize it when they feel it. In the middle of a chaotic day, something as small as a soft touch on the back of his neck or a quick kiss on the cheek can calm his nervous system and create a sense of grounding. His body begins to associate you with peace and emotional security, and that's far more powerful than any visual stimulation. It's also important to understand that physical touch gives him a sense of being chosen. Men, just like women, want to feel desired and valued. When you reach out to touch him in subtle, loving ways, it communicates that you're drawn to him, not just for his appearance, but for who he is. That feeling of being emotionally chosen activates deeper feelings of attachment. It sends a message: you matter to me. I feel close to you. And because men often don't verbalize their emotions easily, they end up relying on those unspoken cues to understand where they stand in a relationship. This is why physical touch becomes an anchor for emotional closeness. The visual attraction may bring him toward you, but it's the physical connection, especially the kind that happens outside of sexual intimacy, that builds emotional trust. A hand resting on his arm during a casual moment, a quick hug when you greet him, or leaning into him during a quiet conversation. These are not grand gestures, but their emotional impact is massive. These simple actions help him let down emotional walls and feel truly connected. Physical touch doesn't just reinforce a man's attraction. It nurtures the emotional bond that keeps him invested. While he may first be drawn in by what he sees, it's what he feels when he's close to you that keeps him emotionally engaged. Through those small, thoughtful touches, he starts to experience something deeper than physical desire. He begins to feel emotionally safe, wanted, and loved. The impact of physical touch on a man isn't just about the act itself. It's about the timing, the energy behind it, and the intention with which it's given. A touch can be powerful, comforting, and emotionally disarming, but only when it feels genuine and well-timed. If a man senses that the touch is mechanical, forced, or used manipulatively, it can actually have the opposite effect. But when a touch is offered in a moment of emotional closeness, appreciation, or vulnerability, it can pierce through walls he didn't even know he had. It can make him feel seen, accepted, and emotionally connected in ways he may not even be able to articulate. Timing is crucial because it transforms a simple action into something emotionally meaningful. For example, imagine a man sharing something personal about his past, maybe a difficult memory or a hidden insecurity. In that moment, if you reach out and gently place your hand on his arm, it sends a deeply reassuring signal. Without needing to speak, you're letting him know he's safe, he's not being judged, and he's not alone. That small gesture lands differently because it arrives when his emotional guard is down, when he's already in a place of openness. The brain responds more deeply to touch during moments like this because it's already in a heightened state of vulnerability and emotional awareness. On the other hand, the same touch, if given at a random or disconnected moment, might not carry the same emotional weight. That doesn't mean spontaneous affection isn't valuable. It absolutely is. But when the moment aligns with the emotion, the effect becomes amplified. Think of it like music. When a note is played at just the right time in a melody, it moves you. But if it's played out of rhythm, it feels off. The human nervous system works in a similar way. Emotional rhythm matters. The timing of your touch needs to align with the emotional tone of the moment. Intention is equally important. The energy you carry while you touch him determines how that contact is received. A warm, gentle touch with the intention of comfort and closeness will be felt as genuine. A touch done with anxiety, expectation, or pressure can feel overwhelming or even push him away. Men, even those who seem emotionally guarded, are incredibly sensitive to the energy of others, especially someone they're emotionally invested in. If you touch him because you truly care, because you want to connect, not because you want to manipulate a reaction, his body will receive that signal clearly. This is why authenticity is non-negotiable when it comes to physical touch. If you're touching him out of love, comfort, playfulness, or admiration, it naturally builds connection. If you're touching him just to get a reaction, such as more affection, more attention, or a deeper commitment, the energy behind it will betray your intention. He might not consciously know why something feels off, but emotionally, he will sense the difference. That's because our bodies are constantly reading nonverbal cues, even more than our minds are. Real connection is built when touch feels natural, sincere, and aligned with the emotional energy of the moment. Also, there are moments when a man deeply craves touch, even if he doesn't say it. After a long day, when he feels overwhelmed, or when he's in his own head about something, those are moments when a simple touch can say, "I'm here with you," louder than any words could. This type of touch doesn't ask for anything, it offers presence. That presence, when timed right, can create a deep emotional shift. It can help him move from a place of emotional isolation into a space of connection and calm. So often, men are not given the emotional permission to soften. But when you offer him physical touch at the right moment, with genuine care and no pressure, you're helping him step into a space where he feels emotionally safe. That feeling stays with him. He may not be able to explain it, but he'll remember how you made him feel in that moment, and he'll want to return to that feeling again and again. There are certain areas of a man's body that, when touched with care and intention, can evoke deep emotional responses, not just physical pleasure. These aren't always the areas you'd expect. While society often focuses on touch in a sexual context, many parts of the body are emotionally charged and can be powerful channels for connection, affection, and emotional bonding. Touching these areas in a soft, respectful, and affectionate way can activate a man's emotional centers, including the release of oxytocin, the hormone that fosters trust, closeness, and bonding. One of the most emotionally responsive areas is the forearm. This might seem like a small or insignificant place to touch, but it carries a surprising amount of intimacy. When you gently place your hand on a man's forearm during a conversation, especially when he's saying something meaningful or vulnerable, it creates a subtle yet strong emotional imprint. It's not a demanding touch, it's a grounding one. It says, "I'm here, I'm listening and I'm with you. That kind of contact can calm his nervous system, reduce stress, and help him feel emotionally connected to you without needing a long conversation. The back of the neck is another area often overlooked. This region is incredibly sensitive and holds a lot of tension, especially in men who carry emotional stress or try to maintain a composed exterior. When you gently touch or lightly massage the back of his neck, it sends a signal of care and protection. It's a gesture that bypasses logic and speaks directly to his body. It feels nurturing, almost maternal in a way that invites him to let his guard down. It's a physical cue that tells his subconscious, you can relax here, you're safe. That's a powerful message, especially for men who aren't always encouraged to show vulnerability. The shoulders are also emotionally significant. They symbolize strength and responsibility, and a lot of men carry the weight of the world in them. When you touch or squeeze a man's shoulder, whether it's a playful pat, a supportive squeeze, or a lingering touch during an intimate moment, it creates a sense of support. It tells him he's not alone in whatever he's carrying. This simple gesture can make him feel appreciated and understood in ways that words often fail to deliver. It becomes more than just physical. It becomes emotional reassurance. His chest, especially over the heart, is another emotionally charged area. A gentle hand placed there during a hug or while cuddling can be incredibly grounding. It's one of the most vulnerable areas to touch because it's literally where he keeps his heart. When your hand rests there, it's not just skin contact, it's symbolic. It tells him you're not just interested in his outer shell, but in the real him. The one with fears, hopes, and emotions he might not share with anyone else. This type of touch can create a deep sense of emotional intimacy that lingers far beyond the moment itself. Even the small of his back, when touched with affection, carries emotional weight. It's a place of guidance and subtle control. When you place your hand there while walking together, it communicates, I'm here with you and I'm supporting you. It's subtle, often unnoticed by outsiders, but deeply felt by the one experiencing it. It builds an emotional association with your presence as being safe, consistent, and caring. These areas are not just about triggering physical pleasure, they're emotional access points. When touched with warmth, sincerity, and affection, they create a sense of closeness that's hard to replicate through words alone. Men might not always talk about their emotional needs openly, but their bodies respond to these moments with real emotion. These subtle touches help them feel seen, accepted, and emotionally tethered to you in a way that becomes both comforting and unforgettable. When it comes to building emotional connection through physical touch, it's not just about where or when you touch a man. It's also about the energy and confidence you bring with it. The emotional tone behind your touch is just as powerful as the touch itself. A man can sense whether the contact comes from a place of warmth, calmness, and genuine affection, or from insecurity, nervousness, or emotional neediness. The same gesture can create either a deep sense of connection or subtle discomfort, depending on the energy behind it. That's why confidence and warmth are essential elements in making physical touch truly impactful for emotional bonding. Confidence doesn't mean being aggressive or forceful. It means being grounded in your own self-worth. When you touch a man with confidence, it tells him that you are emotionally secure, that you're not seeking approval, and that your affection comes from a place of strength. This is incredibly attractive on a subconscious level. When a woman reaches out to touch a man in a way that feels sure, relaxed, and natural, it communicates something deeper than words can express. It says, I'm not afraid of connection. I trust this moment. I'm not trying to get anything from you. I'm just sharing something real. Men, especially those who may struggle with their own emotional expression, are deeply affected by this kind of energy. Physical affection offered with ease and self-assurance becomes a safe emotional cue. It allows him to drop his guard because he senses that you are emotionally solid. He doesn't feel pressure to perform, to reciprocate in a specific way, or to decode hidden meanings behind your actions. Your confidence gives him permission to relax and enjoy the moment without overthinking it. That ease creates space for emotional closeness to naturally grow. Warmth is just as important. This refers to the emotional tone you carry while being physically affectionate. Is your energy kind, caring, and calm? Or is it tense, anxious, or uncertain? When you touch a man with emotional warmth, a warm hand on his arm, a soft touch on his face, or a gentle hug after a long day, doesn't just feel good physically. It nourishes him emotionally. It tells his nervous system. This kind of warmth is what helps a man open emotionally. It's not about big, dramatic gestures. It's the little moments that build trust. Like when you reach for his hand in a relaxed way during a casual walk, or when you brush his hair back and smile with real affection. These simple actions carry a powerful emotional charge when they're done with a heart full of warmth and no hidden agenda. They allow him to associate your presence with peace and comfort, which is the foundation for emotional intimacy. Men are often on guard emotionally, even if they don't show it. They're taught to keep things together, to be in control, to avoid vulnerability. But when they're around someone who radiates calm, confidence, and emotional warmth, their defenses start to soften. They begin to associate that person with emotional safety, a rare and valuable feeling for many men. Touch, in this context, becomes much more than physical contact. It becomes a form of silent emotional language. And the more often they experience this kind of energy from you, the more they begin to crave it, not just as a source of comfort, but as a genuine connection that brings out their deeper, softer side. When a man feels that your touch isn't coming from a place of emotional hunger, but rather from emotional abundance, it changes the way he sees you. He starts to feel emotionally safe in your presence. And when a man feels safe, when he senses that your affection is grounded in confidence and warmth, it opens up the space for real love to grow. When a man feels emotionally connected through touch, it's often because those touches are consistent and repeated over time. While grand, romantic gestures may be memorable, it's the small, everyday physical expressions of affection that gradually build a sense of emotional safety and intimacy. These repeated actions become familiar, comforting, and deeply grounding. They send a silent but powerful message. I'm here, I see you, I care about you. The regularity of these gestures turns them into emotional anchors, creating a space where love can not only grow, but feel safe and stable. A simple touch on the shoulder when passing behind him, a gentle hand on his knee while sitting together, or a kiss on the cheek each time you say goodbye. These little moments of connection might not seem significant on their own, but over time, they accumulate. Each one reinforces a sense of closeness and reliability. They build emotional muscle memory. His body begins to expect your affection and respond to it not just with pleasure, but with trust. It's not just about stimulation, it's about soothing. And this kind of soothing, repeated regularly, becomes part of how he experiences love. The power of repetition lies in its ability to create emotional rhythm. Just as our bodies respond to routines with calmness and predictability, so do our emotions. When you consistently offer physical affection without needing a reason, just because it's who you are and how you love, it teaches him that your care is dependable. There's no guessing, no performance, no proving required. That kind of emotional consistency can be incredibly disarming for a man, especially if he's used to relationships where affection is given only in response to certain behaviors or milestones. Many men struggle with verbalizing their emotions. They may find it difficult to say exactly how they feel, especially in vulnerable or uncertain moments. But touch, when it's offered regularly and without expectation, becomes its own language. It speaks where words fail. It tells him he's loved, appreciated, and valued, even on days when life is hard or communication isn't flowing. Over time, this physical consistency begins to shape the emotional foundation of the relation. He doesn't just remember the big moments, you holding his hand during the hard times, brushing his hair back while he's stressed, or pulling him into a warm hug after a long day. Those small, repeated acts become the moments he trusts most. Touch also acts as a reminder. It brings a man out of his head and into the present moment. When life is chaotic, when responsibilities pile up or emotional stress takes over, a simple hand on his chest or a soft touch on his back can bring him back to center. Repeated physical gestures become emotional cues, gently reminding him that he's not alone. They signal that no matter what's happening outside, there's safety and connection waiting for him in your presence. That level of emotional anchoring can change the way he experiences both you and the relationship. In time, those consistent touches don't just soothe him, they create an emotional association with you that's hard to replicate. You become the source of calm in his storm, the comfort in his stress, the familiar presence he looks for without even realizing it. These physical interactions are no longer just moments. They're part of how he experiences emotional security. Be sure they have to be, because if they do, he should remain safe. This kind of physical consistency becomes a vital part of how they define love. He may not comment on it every time, and he may not even realize just how much it means to him in the moment, but over time, his body will remember. His heart will respond. And that repeated, reliable physical connection will become one of the deepest emotional bonds he knows. In the end, love isn't just built on words. It's built on moments, on subtle touches, on the energy we bring into someone's life. When you understand how to touch a man in ways that speak to his emotions, not just his body, you're doing more than showing affection. You're creating safety, connection, and trust. Every gentle touch, every warm embrace, every confident, caring gesture has the power to reach beyond his defenses and speak directly to his heart. And when that kind of touch is given with genuine intention, it activates something deep within him, something that makes him feel loved, seen, and emotionally alive.